The New York airport buzzed with the usual frenetic energy, a stark contrast to the weariness that settled within me. Negotiating the sale of our family's pharmaceutical company had been an arduous journey, one that left me physically and emotionally drained. Yet, as I sat in that terminal, surrounded by strangers hurrying to their destinations, the thought of finally returning home to Charlotte infused me with a flicker of hope. The interminable minutes stretched as I watched the digital board flicker, displaying flight statuses. Fingers tapped away on my phone, instinctively checking for any updates on my flight. Delayed. The announcement echoed through the terminal, eliciting collective groans and resigned sighs. Frustration coiled within me as I recalculated the time I might spend stranded in this bustling transit hub. A glance at the dwindling battery percentage on my phone only exacerbated my growing impatience. I longed for the comfort of home, the familiar embrace of my routine. As I sat, observing the ceaseless flow of travelers, my thoughts drifted to Emma. I contemplated surprising her by arriving earlier than expected. A faint smile tugged at my lips at the thought of seeing her face light up with delight. But the uncertainty of the flight's departure loomed, dampening the anticipation. "Excuse me, sir." A flight attendant's voice interrupted my reverie. "Yes." I looked up, momentarily startled. "Boarding will commence shortly for your flight to Charlotte. We apologize for the delay." Relief washed over me, mingled with a sense of urgency. Gathering my belongings, I headed towards the gate, joining the queue of travelers. "I hope this flight doesn't decide to take its time," I murmured to the elderly woman beside me, attempting a bit of small talk. She chuckled softly. "Oh dear, flights have a mind of their own these days. Patience is the key, isn't it?" Her words struck a chord, a poignant reminder in that moment of my own need for patience. With a nod and a grateful smile, I settled into the seat near the gate, mentally preparing myself for the journey back home. The hum of conversations around me faded as I found solace in my thoughts, anticipating the warmth of familiar surroundings and the embrace of my beloved Emma. The key slid into the lock, the familiar click signaling my return home after what felt like an eternity in the airport. With weary steps, I entered the serene sanctuary of our house, hoping to surprise Emma with an unexpected early arrival. But as I ventured further, an eerie stillness hung in the air, unsettling the usual comfort of our home. The house felt oddly quiet, unnervingly so. My heart quickened its pace, a peculiar sense of foreboding settling in the pit of my stomach. Ignoring the fatigue tugging at my bones, I made my way upstairs, the echo of each step reverberating through the silence. The bedroom door stood slightly ajar, casting a sliver of light into the dim hallway. A faint rustle of movement reached my ears as I pushed the door open, expecting to find Emma engrossed in some evening activity. But what I saw froze me in place, the air thickening with disbelief and betrayal. Emma lay nestled in our bed, her features softened by sleep, but she was not alone. A figure, unfamiliar yet strikingly present, shared the intimate space, a man whose presence shattered the reality I had known. The world seemed to halt, time suspended in the wait of that moment. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open, registering the shock on my face. Panic flashed across her features as she tried to grasp the gravity of the situation. "Elijah, I can explain," she stammered, scrambling to sit up, a mix of guilt and desperation etched on her face. The man beside her stirred, roused by the tension in the room. His eyes widened, a mix of surprise and alarm painting his expression. The silence grew stifling as we all stood frozen in the realization of the irrevocable breach. "What the hell is this?" My voice wavered with a mix of anger and disbelief, the words slicing through the heavy silence. "Eli, please, let me explain," Emma pleaded, her voice strained with regret. The man, William, scrambled to dress, his attempts to offer an apology falling short in the wake of the overwhelming tension suffusing the room. The words caught in my throat, emotions swirling within me, a maelstrom of shock, hurt, and betrayal. The space felt suffocating, The foundations of trust shattered in an instant. Without another word, without granting them further audience, I turned and walked away, each step resonating with the echo of a life irreversibly altered. The sterile silence of the hallway enveloped me as I retreated from the bedroom, the echoes of Emma's desperate pleas fading into the hollow corridors of our home. Anguish clenched at my chest, a potent mix of hurt and disbelief weighing me down with each heavy step. I found myself standing in the dimly lit living room, the surroundings suddenly foreign and unfamiliar. The air felt charged with the weight of Emma's confession, her voice pleading for understanding, for forgiveness. "I never meant to hurt you, Elijah." Her voice trailed from the bedroom, reaching out to me. I struggled to process the magnitude of her betrayal, grappling with the haunting images etched into my mind. Emma's attempts at explanation lingered, mingled with the raw sting of betrayal, leaving me grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. I sank onto the couch, the world around me a blur of muted colors and distant sounds. Emma emerged from the bedroom, her demeanor a mix of regret and desperation, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. "Eli, please, let's talk about this," she implored, her voice trembling with emotion. "I need time," I managed to say, my voice strained with the weight of my shattered trust. Emma hovered uncertainly, torn between the impulse to reach out and the understanding of the chasm that had emerged between us. The silence stretched, the unspoken words heavy in the air, a poignant realization of the irreparable damage inflicted upon our once unbreakable bond. "I'm sorry," Emma whispered, her voice cracking with remorse, before retreating back into the bedroom, leaving me alone with the shattered remnants of our life together. Alone in the desolate silence, I grappled with the ache of betrayal, the jagged edges of emotions cutting deep. The familiar surroundings offered no solace, each corner of the house echoing with the memories tainted by Emma's unfaithfulness. As the night wore on, sleep eluded me, the weight of the revelation heavy upon my heart. I found myself sitting in the stillness, grappling with the painful realization that the life I had known was irreversibly altered, forever marred by an act of betrayal that seemed insurmountable. The following day dawned with a heaviness that matched the weight on my shoulders. Determined to confront the man who had shattered my world, I set out to find William, the intruder in my home and marriage. With a resolute stride, I navigated the streets, driven by a mix of anger and a need for closure. I found myself standing before William's residence, my heart pounding in my chest as I rang the doorbell, bracing myself for the encounter that awaited. The door creaked open, revealing William, whose surprise at my unannounced visit was evident in his widened eyes and awkward stance. The air crackled with tension, an unspoken acknowledgement of the tumultuous events that had transpired. "What do you want?" William's voice wavered, betraying a hint of unease. "I want to talk," I replied, my tone firm but laden with the turmoil churning within. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen," William stammered, a mix of guilt and regret coloring his words. "You're sorry. That's all you have to say." My voice surged with an undercurrent of anger, the depth of betrayal I felt simmering beneath the surface. Before William could muster a response, another figure appeared in the doorway. A woman, presumably his wife, Olivia. Her expression shifted from confusion to comprehension as she took in the scene unfolding before her. Olivia, who's at the door. Her husband's hesitation prompted her to peer over his shoulder, and her eyes widened in surprise at the sight of me. "Hello, Olivia," I said evenly, my gaze unwavering as I addressed her. "A hello. Do I know you?" Olivia's confusion was palpable, her brow furrowing in an attempt to piece together the unexpected encounter. "I'm Elijah, Emma's husband," I explained, a tinge of bitterness seeping into my words. Understanding dawned on Olivia's features, a mixture of surprise and discomfort clouding her expression. The silence hung heavy between us, each of us grappling with the aftermath of the revelations. "I'm sorry for barging in like this, but I needed closure," I finally said, my voice softer now, the rawness of the situation seeping through. Olivia nodded silently, her gaze flickering between her husband and me, caught in the turbulent aftermath of our intertwined lives. As I turned to leave, the weight of the confrontation lingered, a bitter taste of reality settling upon my lips. The encounter offered little solace, but it marked a pivotal moment in my journey toward acceptance and moving forward from the shattered fragments of my life. The days that followed the confrontation felt like navigating through an emotional storm. Emma's attempts at reconciliation were persistent, her earnest pleas for forgiveness echoing through the hollow spaces of our once harmonious home. "I can't fathom life without you, Elijah." Emma's voice trembled with vulnerability, tears shimmering in her eyes as she grasped for my understanding. Her anguish tugged at my heart, igniting a fleeting desire to grant her absolution. Yet the deep-rooted hurt, a product of her betrayal, held me back, a stark reminder of the trust irretrievably shattered. "I need time," I murmured, my voice a fragile shield against succumbing to her desperation, torn between the pull of her sincerity and the cavernous breach that separated us. Days blurred into an agonizing whirlwind of uncertainty, Emma's presence a constant reminder of the chasm tearing through the fabric of our shared life. "I'll do anything to make things right, Elijah." Emma's plea was tinged with an unwavering determination to mend what she had broken. Her earnestness was palpable, her efforts to atone for her mistake genuine. Yet, the wounds ran too deep, resisting closure despite her remorse. "I'm not sure if we can salvage this," I admitted, the weight of my words hanging heavily, a stark acknowledgement of the irreversible damage inflicted by her betrayal. The ensuing silence felt deafening, a poignant realization that the foundation of our love had crumbled beyond repair. Each passing moment widened the gap between us, the remnants of our once flourishing relationship slipping away. As the days stretched into weeks, the specter of our inevitable separation loomed larger. Legal consultations and discussions about the dissolution of our marriage became the harsh reality we could no longer evade. "I never wanted this to happen." Emma's voice quivered with a mix of regret and resignation. "Neither did I confessed, the ache in my heart mirrored by the exhaustion etched on her face. In that poignant moment, amidst the fragments of our broken marriage, we silently acknowledged the painful truth, a reckoning that marked the end of a chapter once brimming with promise and love. The days that followed the tumultuous confrontation were a haze of legal consultations and emotionally charged discussions. Each step forward felt like navigating through a dense fog, the weight of our crumbling marriage looming heavily upon us. Lawyers' offices became the unwelcome backdrop to our shattered lives. The division of assets and discussions about the dissolution of our marriage became stark reminders of the irreparable damage inflicted upon our once thriving relationship. "We need to settle this amicably, Elijah." Emma's voice was tinged with a sense of urgency, her eyes mirroring the distress that mirrored my own. "We'll do what's necessary," I replied, my voice laced with the weariness of navigating this tumultuous path. The legal proceedings were an arduous journey, each discussion dredging up memories of a shared life now tainted by betrayal. The house that once echoed with laughter now stood as a silent witness to the fracture that had torn through our bond. "I never imagined it would come to this." Emma's voice quivered with regret, her gaze fixated on the documents laid out before us. "Neither did I confessed, the ache of lost dreams and shattered trust palpable in my words. The days turned into a blur of paperwork and discussions, the process of dismantling our life together, an agonizing testament to the love that once bloomed and then withered. "We'll get through this, Elijah." Emma's voice held a fragile optimism, a faint glimmer of hope amidst the impending dissolution of our marriage. "I hope so," I murmured, the weight of the situation pressing heavily upon me. As the legal proceedings trudged forward, the reality of our impending separation became increasingly stark. The division of assets, the logistics of untangling our shared life, and the emotional toll of it all weighed heavily on both of us. The once shared dreams now lay shattered, the remnants of our bond reduced to legalities and formalities. The fallout from the betrayal had set us on diverging paths, leaving us to grapple with the aftermath of a love story that had tragically unraveled. In the wake of the disintegration of our marriage, the looming finality of separation began to settle upon us. The once vibrant home now echoed with the silent remnants of a shared life, painted with the bittersweet memories of what once was. Emma and I found ourselves tiptoeing around the house, navigating the shards of our fractured relationship, our interactions marked by an unspoken melancholy. "It's hard to believe this is how things have turned out," Emma murmured, her voice tinged with regret, as we packed belongings into separate boxes, each item a testament to a life now disentangled. "I never imagined it either," I admitted, my voice heavy with the weight of lost dreams and unfulfilled promises. As we moved through the house, sorting through our belongings, the air crackled with an unspoken sorrow. The memories infused in every corner of our home, a photograph on the mantel, a trinket on the shelf, were poignant reminders of a love story that had met an untimely demise. "We had so many plans," Emma's voice quivered, a sentiment that mirrored my own, as we packed away remnants of a shared history. "We did," I agreed softly. The ache in my heart echoed in the hushed melancholy that enveloped us. The finality of our separation loomed large as we navigated through the logistics of parting ways, dividing belongings, untangling finances, and making arrangements for the future. Yet, amidst the shards of what was once a thriving relationship, a glimmer of resilience emerged, a tentative acceptance of a new beginning, a chance to rebuild separate lives. "I wish you well, Emma," I finally said, the words heavy with the weight of goodbye, a bittersweet acknowledgement of the closure we sought. "Take care, Elijah." Emma's voice was soft, a mix of sorrow and a faint hope for healing, as we stood on the threshold of a new chapter, forever altered by the fallout of our shattered marriage. As we parted ways, the house stood silent, holding the remnants of a love story that had now faded into the archives of the past. With heavy hearts but a resolve to embrace a new dawn, we embarked on separate journeys, each step a hesitant but determined stride toward a future redefined by the scars of our shared history.